evening. Good evening to all of you, and I am just so elated to be here. I want to thank Mrs. Shaw Caracci. Can we give her a big round of applause? Thank her for organizing this. You know, we've been going around the city of Chicago, and we've been talking to the citizens of Chicago about their concerns. I've been doing listening tours, listening to the citizens, finding out your suggestions as to what you feel needs to be done. And before we close tonight, I would like to have some input from you all. Anyone that have any suggestions or any concerns, I'd like to get those suggestions from you tonight. You know, it is just so vitally important that we have a mayor that's concerned about all of the people. And as Mrs. Shaw indicated to you all, I come from a set of poor and uneducated parents, so I understand the least to the greatest. I have gone through so many things in my lifetime, working so very hard and having to deal with so many different kinds of discriminations. And so I am able to understand people in general. I am able to understand people that are going through challenges and their plights. I am just so happy to be here with you all from both the Pakistani community and the Indian American community, the Indo-Pakistani community. Thank you all so very much for your support. Working together, we will be able to make Chicago a city that respects all cultures. That's the important thing, that we have a city that respects all cultures. You all know that as clerk of the court, I have been here with you all. I've been with this community, with both communities, for a number of years, and I'm going to do the same thing as mayor of the city of Chicago. You can be assured. You know, my mother and father, as Mrs. Caracci said, they were poor and uneducated people. But they believed in education, just as both of you all's communities believe in educating your children. And they worked hard, and they sent all 8 of their children to college. 7 out of 8 have bachelor's degrees, 6 out of 8 have master's degrees, 2 are attorneys, 1 is a CPA, and 1 is a PhD from a set of poor and uneducated parents. Now, as she also said, my father was a laundry worker and he was also a farmer. And he decided that one day he would plant a cotton field. And he took me and my 7 siblings to that cotton field. And I remember, gentlemen and ladies, standing at the beginning of one of those rows, getting ready to chop that cotton. And I remember looking up at that hot sun and saying to myself, I am going to college, and I'm going to make something of myself. And then while I was in college, between my sophomore and junior year, I came right here to Chicago. And I worked in a factory out in Niles, Illinois, putting up parts on a paint line. It was a hot furnace because the parts had to go, there were small car parts. And the parts had to go through and at first, once we put the oil on it, and they had to go through and get neutralized. And then we would pull those off, and then we would put parts on there to take them through to get painted. And it was really hot, and I remember sitting there next to individuals and realizing that they were adults and they had children, and all they were going to ever do in their life was to work on that factory line. And I said to myself then, I'm going back to college and I'm going to make something of myself. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, that helped me to respect people. That helped me to understand and respect the least to the greatest. My parents had taught me over the years to respect people and to serve. That's how I was raised. And to live with the highest of integrity, to make sure that everything that I've ever had, I've earned it. And I had to earn it the hard way. And so I am a hard worker. Now, after I went back to college, after I worked in that factory, I went back to college, and during that time, there were protests going on campus. And I wound up in the middle of some of those protests, and 2 of the students on my campus were killed. While I was in the middle of the protest, 2 of the students were killed. And I was leaving the building and I saw them. And I started crying. And the governor's helicopter landed in front of me. And people thought that the National Guard had come and they had shot tear gas. And they thought that I was crying tear gas tears. I was crying because 2 of our students had been killed. But they sent us home 5 months. And a lot of students didn't go back to that campus. But I went back because I had said that I'm going to go to college and I'm going to make something of myself. I went back, ladies and gentlemen, graduated number 1 in the College of Business, number 1 in the Department of Accounting, number 4 in the entire university. Wow. But I was in accounting, and my older sister had told me that I was going into that profession with 2 strikes against me. I was black and I was a woman. And it was a white male-dominated profession. And even though I graduated with those kind of grades, now 1 major accounting firm would give me a job offer. The guy that I tutored got the job offer. So what do you do when number 1 is not good enough, gentlemen and ladies? Do you go into the corner and just give up? Or do you come to a city like Chicago, knock the walls out, and become the first African-American in the history of Cook County to be the clerk of one of the largest court systems in the world? That's what you do. You just keep on fighting and don't let anybody define you. I don't care what they try to make you be, who they try to turn you into, what they say about you. You don't let anybody define you. You just keep on believing and you work hard. You double down, you work hard, and you get the credentials necessary to get the job done. And so I decided that I was going to come to Chicago, and the first thing I was going to do is become a certified public accountant, a CPA, because I was going to prove to them that I was just as good as my grades said that I am. And I came and I passed the CPA exam, and I was able to get a job with the largest accounting firm in the world. And I worked for them. And while I worked for them, I decided I would go to school in the evenings because I wanted to continue to be competitive, and I would go to school and get an MBA. So that I would be a CPA and an MBA. That's why I have that financial acumen to handle the finances of the city. And so after I did that, I started to work with philanthropic agencies and getting things done for people, young people, senior citizens, working in the community because I always loved to help people. That's the way I was raised, just to help people. So as I was doing that, I realized in the late 80s that I had an ability to get a lot of things done and get a lot of things done excellently. Working during the day and in the evening, helping young people, helping senior citizens, helping people in the community. And it dawned on me that I needed to give to more people, and I felt that that meant public service, serving as an elected official. But I did not want to become an elected official unless I was an attorney, because I thought I was going to be a legislator. And I felt that if you're going to be a legislator and make the law, you ought to know the law. You shouldn't have to be having your staff person tell you how to vote or analyze the law for you. You should be able to do that for yourself, or at least have the staff people do that people do the analysis, and then you're able to determine whether or not their analysis is correct. So I took the time at age 38 and went to law school. 3.5 years. And after I finished law school, I started looking at what I was going to run for. And many of you may know, remember when I ran for city treasurer in the city of Chicago back in 1999. I ran for city treasurer in the city of Chicago and almost won that race. And I came this close. It was 49 to 51%. But I did not win that race, and I did not sell the people out. They tried to get me to sell the people out during that time. But I always wanted to be able to stand up for the people. And so after that race, people were asking me to run for different things. And I made the decision to run for clerk of the court because I felt that it was a legal entity, and I was an attorney. And it's like a multi-million-dollar corporation. It's over $100 million budget, and it has its own human resources, its own finance department, its own payroll, its own public information, its own technology department. You have to run a court operation that's the second largest court system in the country, maybe even the world. So it's like a multi-million-dollar corporation. And so I felt that I could do that and run it effectively. And so I have been the clerk of the court for the last 18 years. But yes, I am the longest serving clerk of the court in the history of Cook County. And even with that, even before I became the clerk of the court, I had experiences managing and working with organizations that have multi-billion-dollar budgets. The Chicago Transit Authority, I was the general auditor for the Chicago Transit Authority, making sure that every bus and every train and all of those assets and every part that makes up those buses and trains and the rail tires that the trains run on, that inventory was properly controlled. I worked on putting in the first automated fare collection system, but before that I made sure that the fare collectors, who were people, that the billions of dollars that were being collected were properly controlled. And before I went to Chicago Transit Authority, when I was working for an outside audit firm, I actually was one of two senior managers that managed the audit of the city of Chicago. Those billions of dollars. So I've already seen the budget and worked with the finances of the city of Chicago. And when I was with the largest accounting firm in the world, I worked on some billion-dollar entities. I worked for Marshall Fields was still around at that time. Carson Perry Scott, Goldblatt. I worked on those major audits as an auditor. So I have the experience. And so I say that it's time for someone that has the background and the experience and the heart for the people. And that's what I have. I have the background, the experience, and the heart for the people. And what do I want to do for the citizens of Chicago? I was talking to some of you gentlemen earlier, and I talked about the importance, and we have some children here, the importance of overhauling our Chicago public school system so that it is a school that provides our children with an excellent education. We're living in a global economy. Children need to be able to compete globally. And our children in the city of Chicago cannot even compete locally. Because they are not being properly educated, means that they do not have alternatives to crime. And if you don't have alternatives to crime, then you will commit crimes. And someone was talking about the reduction of the crime. Yes, I am committed to reducing crime, but I think that all of the different things are interrelated. Educating our children, and economic development for jobs is interrelated. So what I'm going to do with our school system, I want the entire school system to be at a magnet school level. People should not have to compete for a few magnet school slots. Every school should have a magnet school level education. And they should also have a gifted program in every school so that our children can compete globally. And then we want to make sure that our teachers, see, when I overhaul the Chicago public school system, it's going to be from the top to the bottom. Now, I'll be issuing my position paper very soon, and so you'll be able to go out and see my positions, my detailed positions, on my website at dorothyformayor.com. But with the school system, we want to look at the teachers, we want to look at the administrators and the teachers, make sure that they're all properly trained. We want to make sure that our schools are clean. It makes no sense to have a $500 million contract and our schools are not clean. We want to know when our children are not in school, so we want to bring back truancy programs. These are just a few of some of the things that we need to do. We need to make sure that if we have disabled children, that they have individualized education plans, various things, and we want to look at the school buildings, and we want to do everything that we can to stop these school closings. But the next thing I want to do is, and we're up here on Devon, and I want to make sure that we have, for each area of the city, an economic development plan that the community participates in developing. And then we attract developers to that economic development plan. Now, within my economic development plan, my plan means that we're going to ensure that every institution within that community is strong. So if you're a business owner, I know we have some business owners here, or if you want to start a business, we want to make sure that I want the city to have a platform that will actually help individuals that want to start a business or sustain a business. I want to provide information about pro bono legal services, pro bono accounting services, how to get small business administration grants. Banks that do business with the city should be willing to loan money to individuals that live in the city to help them start businesses. We want to do things to strengthen our small businesses because small businesses hire more people than large businesses do. And we need to provide jobs. Not-for-profit agencies, we want to strengthen them as well. I feel that not-for-profit agencies provide valuable services to the community. Yes, they do. And because they provide valuable service, then we want to provide a platform to help them have information on how to survive. And then finally, with the crime in our city. My platform is about criminal and social justice reform so that there is fairness in the way we mete out justice. And I'm going to take an integrated approach to criminal and social justice reform. Reform in the criminal justice system from the beginning, from the police officers, all the way to the judges, the state's attorneys, the clerk of courts, the sheriff, and even the state police and the Illinois Department of Correction. There needs to be reform in all of these areas in how people are treated and what we do and how we rehabilitate individuals. We need to make sure that there's no criminal misconduct and there's no police misconduct. And so in the criminal misconduct area, we want to reduce the crime. And the way we reduce the crime is to make sure we have things. We have jobs for individuals so they have alternatives to crime. But then we need to meet them where they are and provide programs to individuals that are already out in the community and have programs for helping them. And the superintendent said there's only about 2,000 people that are committing a crime. Well, we know that there's 2,000 and we know who they are. then we need to have programs to help them find out what their needs are. There are various organizations that work directly with individuals. We want to make sure, I have a program called Expungements, helping people get a second chance. If we can help people get a second chance,
yes,
get some of these minor things off of their records, then they won't have to commit crimes. So I want to bring that kind of program, help the city have that kind of program as well. And then on the police misconduct side, I want to make sure that all of the things that the United States Justice Department said that the police need to do for reform, that those things are implemented. I don't feel that we should have to wait for a federal judge to tell us to have community policing, to tell us whether or not we have the right proportion between the supervisors and the police officers on the street, to have us take a look at how our detectives are actually solving homicides. I don't feel that we have to have a federal judge to tell us that our police officers need to be properly trained. So I want to implement the things that the United States Justice Department talked about immediately. And so these are just a few of the things that I want to do, but the most important thing is being fair to all the people of Chicago. That's the most important thing. My theme is hope for all Chicago. Treating everybody with respect, treating everybody like they are decent human beings. Making no difference in anyone regardless of who you are. And I believe in having Chicago be a sanctuary city. So that people feel comfortable being here, that they feel comfortable educating their children. And so I will ensure, and that they feel comfortable and know that they will get proper medical treatment, that we would not be separating parents from their children. So those are just a few of the things that I want to do as mayor of the city of Chicago. As I said, my entire platform will be out on dorothyformayor.com. And I appreciate all of you for the years of support that you have done. And thank you so very much. God bless you and God bless the United States of America. All right, thank you all. And now I'm going to stop. And we're going to permit you, yes ma'am. I'm going to permit you to ask questions. I talked about a lot of things, but I want to permit you to ask questions. And then Mrs. Shaw is going to come back and she's going to ask you about helping us out in different ways with the campaign.
So Ms. Brown, how are you going to deal with the situation, the crime situation, which is not only east, west, or south side, it's spread on all corners of the city? How are you going to deal with that crime? And the gang system is going on in the city right now. Anywhere can be killed. Like the other day, there was some killing here in Rogers Park area, which is the most diverse city area of the city, and one of the safest areas in the city. How about how are you going to balance? How are you going to bring the trust back on the police of Chicago that any citizen has no trust on them at all? How are you going to balance the budget? How are you going to solve the problem of the pension? And the sanctuary city, how Donald Trump is being hitting on us, how are you going to deal with it?
All right, he hit everything.
Today in the speech, the people, the foreigners make fun of him.
Yes, but you know, with the crime, we have to do some gang intervention. That's what I was talking about when I said I want non-for-profit agencies who actually, there are a lot of organizations that have people that are former gang members that are willing to do gang intervention, but they are underfunded. So I want to work with some of those kind of agencies. I want to also, see, when I overhaul the Chicago Police Department, I want to put together a panel of experts that take a look at what other cities have done to address their crime, to reduce their crime, to see what are we doing wrong here in Chicago. And also to get rid of that us against them mentality. You talked about the distrust for the police department. We need to get rid of this us against them mentality, because police officers, they are our family members. They're our sisters, our brothers, our mothers, our fathers. When they take off those uniforms, they are our regular family members. So we have to make sure that we are working with them. So I want to make sure that they're properly trained to do what they do. Some of them just simply not trained. But I also want to have put in place the ability to accountability. See, the problem is there has not been accountability for complaints that have been waged against certain police officers, so that they don't even know when a person is a problem and need help. See, the Justice Department report talked about health and wellness of police officers. Well, you cannot know what health and wellness issues there are for police officers if you're not tracking when one person has a lot of complaints, if you're not keeping up with that. Now, if you're keeping up with that, then you know, okay, that's a red flag. I need to find a program for that individual to go to. And see how do you help them become the best police officer that they can be. Now, there are going to be some that cannot be helped. And so you have to figure out exactly what to do with them. But it's going to have to be targeted, it's going to have to be focused in working with police officers, and it's going to have to be the same thing in working with these 2,000 individuals that are wreaking the crime on the city of Chicago, in addition to doing gun control. Now, and working with the state and the federal government for gun control. But guns don't kill people, people do, right? So we need to make sure that we are addressing the needs of the people. I think that education plays a part in that. Within the school system, we need to help our children learn how to do conflict resolution without fighting, have social and emotional learning, anger management skills, and things of that nature. So it's all in there together, but you have to have someone that's committed and cared in that office. And there are things that are already available, but you have to have someone that's committed and care about the people and willing to do those things. Now, as it relates to stabilizing the finances of the city, now what I want to do is to take a look at every revenue ordinance that the city has, to determine exactly what the levels are, and to see whether or not they're at the proper level, number one. And number two, are we properly collecting it? See, when I took over as clerk of the court, I did an entire analysis of the revenue. I had my technology staff to run reports, and we took a look to see, are all the fees being properly charged? If they're not being properly charged, then why? We found out that fees were being waived and we didn't know it. Do we have the proper controls in place for our cashiers? See, no, we want to make sure that we're collecting what we already have the authority to collect. And then once we do, and then we also want to, I also sent people to other conferences to find out what other clerks of courts were doing in the country that I was not doing. And I had to come back to Chicago, and I went to Springfield and was actually able to get laws passed that helped raise the revenue for all the clerks of courts in the state. I turned the office around. It was in the red when I took office. It's in the black now. Because of the work that I did, I had to do the heavy lifting, and continuously looking at new ideas. I want to look at large cities and small cities. Some small cities may have ideas that we haven't even come up with. But also, we're not just going to look at the revenue side, we're going to look on the expense side. And look to see exactly whether or not we have the most efficient operations going. And see how we can, maybe through attrition, because I don't think that you should do full, just lay people off, because people are people, and they have jobs and they have families. They have families. But by attrition, if you have an operation that runs more efficiently through technology and things like that, then you're able to start to reduce your expenses. So we want to look at whether or not the offices are being run in the most efficient way. So you're going to look at the revenue side and the finance and the expense side. And then there are other things that I want to look at. We're looking at things like crowdfunding for special projects. Crowdfunding means that the community, let's say if everybody here on Devon in this area decide that you want a certain project done, like you may need another garage, right, to be able to park. You can actually do crowdfunding and actually do grants to the city to a fund in order to build it and get a tax write-off for it. So crowdfunding and then crowd granting, different kinds of things that we're going to be looking at in order to stabilize the finances of the city. So I think I hit just about everything that you said. Oh, he has a question. You have a question, young man? That young man back there has a question. Let's let the young man ask his question.
What will happen about the cleanliness about the city?
You want to come up? Come up a little bit so we can hear you.
What will happen about the cleanliness about in the city of Chicago?
The cleanliness?
Like
The cleanliness in the city or in the schools?
in the city.
In the city. Oh, great question. You know, out of all the listening tours that I have gone to, no one has ever asked me that question about the cleanliness in the city of Chicago. And so we want to have everyone feel that we are all in it together, that this is a partnership, that we want to have special programs to keep the city clean. And so that's what I want to do. Have special programs, maybe even Saturdays where the communities get together and clean up. And if they have a neighbor that's not able to cut their yard, that young people would get together and cut their yards, have some kind of programs to make sure that we keep our city clean. All right? Thank you, young man.
Dorothy, do you have any special ideas to improve the race relations in the city?
Wow. You know, in improving race relations in the city, I think that the important thing is that you have a mayor that respects every race. And that we do something similar to what I do in the clerk's office. You know, first of all, my first year, I sent all of my employees to diversity training to help them to understand one another's differences and to respect each other's cultures. And now we have an event for every culture. And then everyone comes and get a chance to observe the specialness about that particular community. We want to have things that, like now, I know with the city, when we have events for a particular culture, the only people that are there is that culture. So how am I going to learn your culture, if, you know, respect your culture if I'm never there? So we want to do things like that. Do things that portray and help everyone to understand each other's cultures. You know, I don't know, we may have to have some kind of special television programs. You know, the city has, or used to have, I don't know if they still have, a television program that give all the different communities an opportunity to share about their communities, so we start to respect one another. You know, so different things of that nature within. And I'm going to have an advisory council from every community, from all the various ethnic groups. I want to have an advisory council to help me be able to address the needs of that particular community. And I'm going to have a youth advisory council as well. But I want to be able to, you know, understand and get the community to help me solve the problems and help me solve the problem of race relations. Of course, race relations is an issue of this country. And you all know that it has a lot to do with the leader, because what's happening with our current president of this country. right? So as mayor of the city of Chicago, it's going to have a lot to do with me and how I respect everyone.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to bring Mrs. Just one more question?
Looking at the kids, they are our future.
Yes.
They should grow healthy. This is a very technical and critical question I'm going to ask you. We've been reading and listening in the news lately for the last couple of years. The Chicago water is not clean. It has a lead in there. 3 days ago, I was listening this program here on the radio. Back in 1985, when they discovered we had lead in our water, late Mayor Al Washington, he tried to replace those pipes with the plastic piping. He was blocked. Mayor and every water department says, no, our water is clean, this water in the city, in the country. But statistics says differently. How are you going to look into that matter? Because we need a clean water, drinking water, which is not contaminated, and be healthy.
Absolutely. I will absolutely look into the issue of lead being in our water. Because as you said, our children need to be able to grow strong. And I will not hide that from the citizens of Chicago. My administration is going to be a transparent administration. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question. Being a Muslim, we have two religious holidays. One is called Eid al-Fitr and one called is Eid al-Adha. In New York, the mayor is officially announced that they will give the holiday vacations to the Muslim people. So if you become the mayor, you will do also officially announce that there will be two religious holidays, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. In Chicago.
I will look into that. Yes. I will absolutely look into that. Bente, can you bring that information for us, please? Thank you for that question. That's what I'm going to depend on my Muslim Advisory Committee to advise me on the things that are appropriate in that regard.
Thank you.
The campaign is gaining great momentum and new supporters are joining every day. We need to come together, South Asian community in Rogers Park area. We need to come together, work together, and let's win together. So we need to stay focused, and I will urge my fellow community member to join me and work together as a volunteer so we could have her our next mayor of Chicago. And you want to distribute any other? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so let's give Mrs. Shaw another big round of applause. So what we want to do tonight, as Mrs. Shaw says, the campaign is gaining momentum, but we need your help. I think I heard someone say, that introduced me, parade, Mr. President from the parade, talked about the campaign needing workers and also need finances. Now, so we have over at our desk some petition. These gentlemen have already taken some clipboards. I'll show you a clipboard over there, young gentlemen.
Tony.
Those clipboards. Tony is working with us. We have to turn in a certain number of signatures. And we want to get everybody in this opportunity to sign everybody that is a registered voter and living in Chicago. We want them to sign for our petitions. But in order for us to do that, we need more and more people to be able to go. For instance, if you're at a restaurant, you can just have everybody in that restaurant that's a registered voter to sign. If you have a family gathering, you can get everyone that's a registered voter at your family gathering to sign. And so if anyone can help us with that, we'd like to have you help us with that. Do anyone other than these gentlemen, they already got theirs. Think that they can feel like they can help us with that. And if that is the case, before you leave, we want to get your information. Now, when you circulate the petitions, you have to, at the bottom is a place for you as a circulator. In order to circulate petitions, there are two things that have to be. You have to be a citizen of the United States and over 18 years old, or going to be 18 by February 26th. Those are the only two criteria. You got it? And we have it right here. Those are the only two criteria. You must be 18 years or older, a citizen of the United States, and then you wait to sign the bottom in front of a notary. And then the person that's going to sign will be individuals that are registered voters in the city of Chicago. So you do not have to be a registered voter to circulate. You just have to be a citizen and over 18, or going to be 18 by election day, February 26th. And so anyone that can help us out with that, we would appreciate it. And we have them at the desk, and we're going to have those. Now, the other thing, too, is, and Betty, can you bring those? I would like to see, well, he's going to pass these out. He's going to pass these envelopes out. Whatever you can give to us tonight, we would really, really appreciate it. We need to be able to raise the funds necessary to get this done. So what we would like to do is whatever you can donate tonight, you can put it in that envelope. And now the way the donations go, if we need your name and your address. If it's over $150, it gets reported to the Board of Elections. If it's over $500, we need your occupation. So you meet your name, address, and your occupation if it's over $500. But we need your name and address for any donation that you give. So we want to take a moment and just give you a chance to take a look at it. That's our donation envelope, and just take a look at it. If you can put whatever you can inside. It's whatever level that you feel that you're able to donate. We have a credit card. We can take a credit card. We take cash. We just have to make sure that we properly account for everything. That's what we're going to do. We'll properly account for everything. So whatever you can put in, we appreciate it. Where's the president? Did he Mr. Parade President, I think he ought to come back up and talk about this. You want to come back up and talk about the donations? Let me have him come back up and talk about the importance, because he understands these campaigns.
देखें, कोई भी इलेक्शन जो है वो फिनांस के बगैर तो नहीं होता, तो इसलिए हमारी अब वही बात है, इज्जत का मसला है। शाहजहाँ की भी इज्जत का मसला है, डोरथी ब्राउन की भी इज्जत का मसला है ना। तो प्लीज़ डोनेट, bring the checks, whatever you can, so she can go back happily. Thank you very much.